Hello everyone, welcome to my YouTube channel. Today we will learn about why domestic violence occurs. Now let's get into the video. Domestic violence stems from a desire for control and power. It can happen to anyone from any walk of life. Whether alcohol and drug use is a factor or not, domestic violence and abuse is a very serious problem for the victims and the abusers. Although studies seem to indicate some link between alcohol/drug misuse and domestic violence, others believe that they are two separate issues. At a glance, domestic abuse is not so much about a loss of control as it is about total control. Abusers engage in violence as a way to maintain power over their partner and ensure that their partner cannot leave. Ironically, many batterers do not see themselves as perpetrators but as victims. This reasoning is common among batterers, and many have elaborate denial systems designed to justify or excuse their actions. Domestic violence is about control. There are varying theories about what makes batterers abuse those closest to them. One view is that batterers are hardened criminals who commit their crimes in a conscious, calculated manner to achieve the dominance they believe they are entitled to. Others believe abuse is the product of deep psychological and developmental scars. Characteristics of abusers. Experts have reached a consensus on several common characteristics among batterers. Domestic abusers are controlling, are manipulative, believe that men have a preordained right to be in charge of all aspects of a relationship, often see themselves as victims. Mate retention behaviors. For some abusers, violence is a tool to keep their intimate partner from leaving the relationship or keeping them from being unfaithful, even if it means physically forcing them to stay. One study found that in many cases, acts of domestic violence are mate retention behaviors, that is, actions taken by one partner to try to preserve and maintain their relationship with the other partner. As one batterer explained after going through treatment, the abuse was all about control. I could make her do whatever I wanted. I was trying to intimidate her. I wanted to control her for the simple reason that I knew I could do it. It made me feel powerful, he suggested. Other factors contributing to domestic violence. Every situation is different, and there is no single factor that causes all domestic violence. However, many experts believe that it primarily comes down to control. Research also suggests that people who witness domestic violence as children are more likely to engage in domestic violence as adults. Individual factors that increase the likelihood that someone will engage in domestic violence include desire for control and power, low income and education level, delinquent or aggressive childhood behavior, anger and hostility, antisocial characteristics, history of past abusive behavior, social isolation, unemployment and economic stress, negative attitudes and hostility toward women, history of abuse during childhood, the domestic violence and abuse cycle. The issues of power and control are essential to an understanding of domestic violence. One way this is accomplished is by becoming familiar with the cycle of violence. Here is an overview of the phases. Build-up phase, the tension builds. Standover phase, verbal attacks increase. Explosion phase, a violent outburst occurs. Remorse phase, the abuser excuses their behavior. You shouldn't have pushed me, it was your fault. Pursuit phase, promises are made, it will never happen again, I promise. Honeymoon phase, a brief respite before the cycle begins again. See, we don't have any problems. Other forms of abuse. This cycle concerns actual physical abuse. It does not take into account other forms of domestic abuse that are used to control, such as economic abuse, psychological and emotional abuse, sexual abuse, social abuse, spiritual abuse, verbal abuse, domestic violence support and resources. The threat of physical harm plus the economic and physical isolation they usually find themselves in makes getting help even more difficult for the victims of domestic abuse. Simply leaving can provoke more and greater violence. People who are victims of domestic violence are at a higher risk of being killed by their abuser when they try to leave the relationship. If you decide to leave, it helps to make a safety plan and ensure you have resources and support to help you do so safely. A safety plan should include a safe place to go after leaving, an emergency bag containing important documents and essentials, and a list of contacts and local resources. Finally, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe to the channel to receive the latest videos as soon as possible. Goodbye and see you in the next videos. I am Mr. Cognitive Quest.